think that there is one nation of this size that has as many great opportunities from a business perspective and from a growth perspective than the Dominican Republic.
We grew as people. We changed as people as a result of our experiences here.
Everyone is different, and so everybody should embrace who each other are, treating everybody equally, promoting the rights of all around the world, promoting the health of our environment so that we protect the environment for the future generations. When we really looked at where in the world would we want to go, we knew the Dominican people already. We knew the wonderful warmth of the Dominican people. We knew we would be close at the time my father was ill. Bob's parents were getting older. We knew that we wanted to be close enough to family, but to be honest, this is such a privilege that so few had the opportunity to represent not just President Obama, but the American people, that we wanted to be able to share that experience with our friends and our family. And we knew the Dominican Republic, one, was the type of work that we wanted to do based on the issues between our two countries, but two, we could have others experience the Dominican Republic the way we had seen it, but with being the representative of the American people.
I specifically remember the moment where I turned to him and said that if this is truly something you're really interested in pursuing, I feel we can make that happen.
You did know this country very well.
Yes. We knew the country well in the respect of we had vacationed here, we have a social network here. In 2000, I believe it was 2009 actually, I was looking at this a couple of days ago, putting a photo album together. And it was 2009 when we closed on the property in Wandolio. Okay. But we'd been coming here prior to that for many years. It was one element that we knew well. Well, there were many things we found out during the course of the last 3 years that we didn't know so well. Yeah. But it, that's just added to the adventure of being here. Yeah.
I knew that I was going to evolve as a leader here on what we needed to accomplish, but also until I heard, and President Obama gave a great advice to a former ambassador, actually still a current ambassador, when he said, what is the number one thing you would suggest I do when I become ambassador? President Obama's answer was very, very clear. Listen. And I thought that was very profound because until I heard President Medina's objectives, until I heard what had been accomplished and what our goals were with the U.S. Embassy already so that I could build on those that previous ambassadors and teams had done, then I didn't think we had the opportunity to come forward.
What would you say are your main accomplishments that you can actually feel proud of?
So I think we both have many. Many people are asking that question, and I'm very proud that they are. One is obviously the continued fight against corruption. I think we've elevated the conversation. I think we've acted on the realities of the impact people have and can have when they're corrupt. And I think that we have helped build the capacity for the government to go after corruption, as well as build the capacity in the conversation for society and also business entities and organizations.
Deportation, treaty, tax transparency.
We continue to work with, we have a special investigatory unit now that we created with the Attorney General's office. We continue to build infrastructure within the police to support the movement of the police. We have, we continue to build and work on judicial reform and support the judicial system, as well as many, many other programs. But I think the important thing is corruption is a conversation that we knew was important because it protects the U.S. interest as well, because there's so much U.S. investment and U.S. Individuals that are here. And they need that protection under the laws, but they also need to be able to do business and to be visitors and to do the things that we do here, as well as the Dominican people, without that barrier that can just totally eradicate a strong economy and a society. I think we've had great success in the human rights area, working with the Dominican government, but also working through the embassy. Because when we got here, the tribunal ruling was one that, from a U.S. perspective and others, that we don't feel was an appropriate ruling. But I am proud to say that President Medina, and working with him as well, and his administration, put a structure around what I consider a very difficult ruling that I don't agree with. But he put a structure around that so that people that are citizens of the Dominican Republic that had had their citizenship taken away were able, and are still in the process, but able to get their citizenship back. And I'm very proud of that work, as well as continue to work on the racism and the challenges of people with color. But also, we have to say on the LGBTIQ rights, I think that now we have a society that understands that everybody should be able to be treated fairly under the law, and equally under the law, as the Constitution says. And I think there's still a lot of work to be done, but we have every day people coming up saying, I feel like I can go to a restaurant now, or I feel like my boyfriend or my husband or my wife or my girlfriend, or I can go out in public and people aren't staring at us, and or that we feel more supported than we had in the past. But we've also had impact on trade. And I think we continue to work on the trade opportunities when we've worked with the individual groups, the small farmers up in the Cibao region, whether it's that or on the tourism sector, and getting pre-clearance. And then we work on the judicial reform, which I think has been great success. The first extradition treaty in over 100 years, which will help us put criminals behind bars and update the opportunity, which is very, very important. And then obviously with the drug traffickers, we've had a great partnership with the DNCD and the Medina administration on fighting the amount of drugs that are coming in here, and had great success. And citizen security, the 911 system, and continuing to put money behind that so that people can feel safe. I think it's not getting a lot better, but there's a place for people to go.
Yeah.
I think it goes without saying, ultimately, that there's really not much that impacts this country that doesn't in turn impact the United States, and vice versa.
Exactly.
It's impossible to separate some of these elements of diplomacy, because there's 1.8 million Dominicans that live in the United States. And there's a very significant number of Americans that live in the Dominican Republic. And the tourism is enormous. So things such as the environment, which we had, I played a very personal role. So it was purely coincidental. Things kind of just happened. But, Wally called me one day and said, there's going to be this premiere of a movie at the embassy about the environment that was filmed and produced by a man by the name of Jake Keel, who lives out in Punta Cana. And he said, you want to come out with the rest of the embassy and watch this movie? And I was like, sure, why not? I mean, it's something interesting to do. And so I go out, and we learned through this film, which ultimately was about the environment, about the deforestation it began about the deforestation of Haiti and along the border region. But then as they were filming this movie, they learned of illegal deforestation going on in the Dominican Republic. Illegal.
Oh, illegal, okay.
Illegal deforestation. And for the purpose of producing wood charcoal, which was being exported to the United States. So when I hear this, I'm sitting there and I'm like, why are we importing wood charcoal into the U.S.? I mean, like,
We fight for the environment. We did not know.
You didn't know.
Had no idea.
Anything like this was happening.
No, had no idea.
Well, obviously it was illegal. I mean, it was underground.
Well, yeah, but it was being legally imported to the U.S., however.
And that's what we didn't
So
understand.
we didn't understand the whole connection. And so I had a long talk with Jake after the preview of the movie. And I was like, I don't know that there's much that we can do in the Dominican Republic that's really not our area to say whether you can or cannot cut down your trees. We can certainly say it's probably not a good idea.
You can suggest, but it's not your turf.
Right. But what is our turf is the importation of wood charcoal to the U.S. So I asked for some more details, and then I said, listen, I got a few friends in Congress. If you want, let's go to Washington and have a chat with them. And so off to Washington we went, and Jake and his co-producer of the movie met me in Washington, and I think I scared him a little bit because we visited 6 congressional offices in one day, and
Pretty busy schedule.
had face-to-face meetings with these elected officials, not just their staff, but 3 senators, and yeah, and it actually ended up being effective because it sparked a conversation here, where I think you're well aware now that Minister Brito of the Environment is taking very aggressive moves to, stop the environmental damage that's taking place here in the Dominican Republic. That was one effort that was really interesting to be involved with. And then I think another accomplishment that I'm probably most proud of all was pushing for the discussion of gender-based violence and sex trafficking that was going on in this country. Again, I will contribute that information and that motivation to, at the time, Attorney General Brito, who gave us a significant amount of information and data as it relates to that subject matter.
You were talking about many of the interests that the United States has here. You've seen, obviously, investments grow. You've seen American brands come to the Dominican Republic and be extremely successful. You've seen, we see it growing. How would you convince or how would you promote the Dominican Republic abroad?
I don't think that there is one nation of this size that has as many great opportunities from a business perspective and from a growth perspective than the Dominican Republic. You have mineral resources that are some of the best in the world, and you all know who those are. You have incredible agricultural opportunities in the Cibao region and around. And I can tell you that with the proximity to the U.S. for products and services, it is a tremendous opportunity. You have a labor force on the border and in the Dominican Republic that's an affordable labor force. And so you have tremendous business leaders here and new entrepreneurs that are constantly creating business that have access to the U.S. and the European markets. And so if somebody was going to invest, I would say you have tremendous opportunity here because you can compete against any market in the world from a labor source perspective. If we can continue to work on the corruption, allow trade to come and go and flow freely, that with DR-CAFTA, which is another huge opportunity and reason why I would say invest in here, you've got the HOPE and the HELP Acts on the border, and that helps Haiti and the Dominican Republic work together. There's no place that I can tell you, other than the United States, I would say would be a good place to look at the opportunities. But that said, because of the
I'm always interested in what comes after the buts.
Yeah, the challenges that are here,
Yeah, so
I think
am I,
they
sometimes.
continue, they continue to have to, we continue to have to work on those because that is why we're not seeing the level of.
When you say we, you mean obviously Foreign Service, the United States here, and the government?
And the Dominican government, but really it's the Dominican government and the Dominican people.
Please tell me with one word the relationship between the U.S. Embassy and the Dominican government. Has it been cooperation? Has there been non-cooperation?
If you want one word, I would say excellent.
Okay.
And I will expand. I've had an amazing relationship with President Medina, and I think Bob and I both have great respect for the way that he and his wife, the First Lady, have embraced us, but also continue to work with the embassy. And so I cannot sit here and tell you any different other than the relationship has been excellent, and the majority of people within the government have been more than accommodating, and it has been an honor to work with them. We know that we disagree on maybe some things behind closed doors, and we continue to work on those. But we're two different countries, so we're never going to agree on everything because it's two different countries and two different cultures. And so, but I will say our relationship has never been stronger.
Both of you have been extremely active in social media, and sometimes all the good news that you just told me, all the accomplishments that you just told me in all the different areas, we don't see that.
I try to utilize the social media outlet as a forum to instigate conversation, and or at times when I believe that there are people who are out of line, somebody needs to tell them they're out of line. And I don't have a problem doing that.
Yeah, and I think where Bob is very good at that, and I agree with him. Social media, you see a lot of things that are easy for people to hide behind the computer and say something.
Everybody's tough behind the computer.
They're all tough behind the computer, but I think that there's times where you have to correct them. And as you know about social media, the audience eventually corrects them. Sometimes you don't even have to do it because your defenders come along, or those that believe the same as you come along and defend it. So I think from that perspective, social media is an important platform because there's a lot of times where there are things that happen that people don't want to really have out there. And it is an opportunity to immediately tell a story and let a broad audience know what's happening, whether it is a murder of someone, whether it is a positive of something that just happened, whether it is just something that you want to talk about. You can immediately get out there. It's in your words. It's short. And people can have a conversation. As Bob said, they don't have to be in the same room. And it's important because it gives people a voice, and especially those who a lot of times don't have a voice, to expose some of the things that might not be something that traditionally would be exposed.
You've opened a conversation, something that was hidden, the women's rights, women's right to choose, gender equality, sexual preference, religion. I mean, a lot of topics.
So let's correct something here. We must stop using the word preference because it's not a preference.
Okay.
You prefer to wear a blue suit,
Yes. Yeah.
right?
I could choose a gray one if I wanted to.
But you don't prefer your sexuality.
Okay.
Your sexuality is what it is.
So tell me, how should I call it from now on? I'm listening.
It's sexual orientation.
Sexual orientation. You're completely right. I knew that already. It's just that.
But Raúl, you did not say it any differently than everybody else.
And I'm not
does.
calling you
yes,
out.
yes,
No,
yeah, yeah,
But it's really something that's important.
I'm the one that's going to start correcting people now on social media that it's not sexual preference, sexual orientation. Thank you for that
it's
small lesson.
social. You bring up something, though, about women's issues. And I do want to say that the discussion that has been going on in the Dominican Republic I find very disconcerting. I believe that a man does not have the right to tell a woman what she can or cannot do with her body. It is, I don't know where they make that determination.
That doesn't make you pro-abortion. That makes you pro-women's right to decide, right?
I would not want somebody telling me what I should do with my body.
I agree with that.
Absolutely. But that is up to governments to make their decisions. But that is how we feel about this, because I think it is once again a human rights issue that I find highly volatile and offensive, and every man should be ashamed if they are trying to dictate their beliefs on what a woman should do with her.
Would you say that continuing that conversation is one more of your accomplishments?
You know, I think for the Dominican people that they will determine that. I think for our embassy, we have hope that we will continue to move forward in the objectives. But I do have hope for both our country, the Dominican people, and the world, that we will be a better place, because people will see the atrocities that are happening around the world, and they'll continue to see that really make sure you do the best you can for you and your family, and don't try to dictate your beliefs on other people. Let them be who they are, because you don't want people to dictate how you should live on yourself. So that's what I would ask someone who is trying to tell me who I should be, or telling someone else how they should live. They need to take care of the key issues and talk about the key issues in this country that are important. The protection of women's rights, the protection of young girls that are being sex trafficked every day. They need to be talking about the fight against corruption. They need to be standing on the pulpit and talking about how everyone should love everybody, not dictate how their religion should be exactly how everybody else should run their lives. And allow everybody to be free and open and live their lives the way of who they are, what they believe, and be part of a society that is a holistic society that has a constitution that protects everybody and the freedom for everybody, and not dictate their own beliefs and say that that's what the rest of the country believes.
We've been accused over and over and over again of trying to dictate our values on the Dominican people. And Nothing could be further from the truth. I mean, we have not gone to the government and given any kind of mandate. We haven't, marched in the street carrying signs that, gay people should be allowed to be married in the Dominican Republic. Now, with that said, do I personally believe that they should be allowed to be married? Well, of course I believe they should be allowed to be married. I mean, why shouldn't they? Yeah. But I have never once said publicly or gone to the Dominican government and made any kind of mandate to anyone that this should be the case. That's the job of Dominican citizens to do, if indeed that's what they want.
It's not about changing people's religious beliefs. Mm-hmm. It's not about changing people's personal beliefs. What it's about is asking people to respect other individuals with the humanity and the dignity that they deserve as a fellow citizen, and having the same rights under the law.
Do you trust that the system in this country will go forward and not backwards?
Yes, I do have hope, as you use that word, mm-hmm. that there will continue to be a growing democracy. Every country has its challenges. I think I've not been, and nor has Bob, not spoken out about the importance of any democracy having a multi-party system. And so I think that if anything, there has to be the opportunity for multi-party systems. It doesn't mean that one is better than the other. It doesn't mean that I have an opinion one way or another against any party, because that's what people try to spin things. I just think you have to have the healthy debate between different opinions. And so I look forward to watching how democracy continues to grow here in the Dominican Republic.
You're leaving. Friends don't leave friends. We know you made a lot of friends. What would you say to all those friends you made?
What I would say to our friends, and I would say to hopefully all of the Dominican people, take care of those who can't take care of themselves. Keep standing up for what is right. Have a voice, and don't worry that you're one, going to lose business, or two, you're going to lose political standing, or three, you're going to lose social standing, or four, you might even lose family because you decide that you need to be who you are, or you need to stand up against corruption or human rights. Because until we do that, one, you're not going to completely be happy. Two, there are going to be those that suffer because they don't have anybody protecting them. And three, we won't be a better world. And so that is what our hope is, that people don't forget that as we go to these wonderful restaurants in the city, that there are many that can't eat. Whether it's in the Dominican Republic, there are many young people that are tied up to beds. So I just want to make sure that that people understand that we're all part of humanity. And so our friends have a great opportunity to continue the great work they're already doing.
Well, and I would encourage everyone to live a honest and transparent life. And the very last thing you need to be concerned about is somebody calling you a name.
Mm-hmm. Everyone is different. And so everybody should embrace who each other are. I think that my hope is that as we leave here, those conversations, as Bob said, have elevated so that there is a voice for those who did not have a voice, treating everybody equally, promoting the rights of all around the world, promoting the health of our environment so that we protect the environment for the future generations. We protect it for all of God's creatures, and that we continue to build the relationships of our country and help other countries build their democracies around the world so that everybody has an opportunity to succeed in life and whatever that may be for them.
I don't take friendship lightly. When I extend my hand in friendship, it's permanent. And we grew as people. We changed as people as a result of our experiences here. And our relationship prospered as a result of our existence here and experiences here. So, yeah, I'm gonna miss them a great deal. Yeah. We'll leave a little piece of us here.
I think that's one of the best conclusions we can have.
I agree.